Asperger syndrome is a developmental disorder that is included in the spectrum of autistic disorders. Individuals with Asperger's retain their early language skills. However, with development, they show impairment in language and communication. They may have a good vocabulary, but not be able to understand the fine distinctions of language. In addition, they will exhibit repetitive or restrictive patterns of thought and behavior. Also, they will have social awkwardness. They will exhibit an inability to relate fully or understand what is required in a given social situation. And finally, they will be resistant to changes in their routine. The causes of Asperger's are not entirely known. It is known that there is a genetic component and an additional abnormality in the brain. Research has shown that this may be due to the abnormal migration of embryonic cells during fetal development, thus affecting the brain structure and its wiring. It has also been shown that there is a reduction of brain activity in the frontal lobe when subjects are asked to respond to tasks that require them to use their judgment. In another study, differences in activity were shown when children were asked to respond to facial expressions. And finally, brain function in adults revealed abnormal levels of specific proteins that correlate with obsessive and repetitive behaviors. Individuals with Asperger's maintain normal intellect and language. However, they may be thought to have superior intelligence because they become interested and preoccupied with a particular subject. They become very familiar with that subject, and they'll exhibit good memory for highly specialized information. Such examples include the bus schedule or train timetables. It will be interesting to consider memory in an Asperger's individual. Such memory has been described as filmographic. Their method of recall is like rewatching a film. However, they exhibit trouble with short-term and non-visual memory. They have trouble with things such as names, birthdays, dates and times of events, shopping lists, and specific lists of items. This excerpt is from an individual with Asperger's. It provides insight into the unique aspects of their memory. At university, I used to sit in lectures and draw pictures instead of taking notes. People used to ask to borrow my notes only to discover that I didn't have any. Well, not notes that they could understand at any rate. The funny thing was that when I got to an exam, all I had to do was think of the drawing and it would bring the whole lecture back. I could look at or just remember certain parts of the drawing, and this would open up the memory of what the lecturer was covering at that time. With this information in mind, we will now look at how episodic memory is affected in individuals with Asperger syndrome.